Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller. In today's program, motorists give their views on the traffic ticket controversy of the past few weeks with the new Road Traffic Act having come into effect today. We'll also hear from stakeholders representing motorcyclists, public transport operators. We'll hear from the government and the opposition and want to hear from you. How was your experience dealing with your traffic tickets? And now that new act is in effect, what do you know about the new Road Traffic Act? Remember, you can WhatsApp us. It's 3810072. Give us your first name, give us your location, and tweet using our hashtag TVJ All Angles. First, though, as the SSL story continues to unfold, directors today issued a 7-page statement giving their account of the fraud at the company and their actions. Now, let me just give you a summary. We'll bring up some excerpts and I'll just give you a summary of what they're saying. Now, the director said that on January 10, they advised the FSC of alleged fraud. They said the very next day, a representative of Usain Bolt's organization visited SSL and said that the employee suspected to have committed fraud came to their offices to confess, quote, that she had falsified statements provided to them, stolen money from them and other SSL clients, and was asking for help from Bolt's management team to repay the clients whose funds she had stolen. Now, I'm going to go forward in the statement now in relation to an issue we're talking about on last week's program when the finance minister tweeted that the FSC had gone to court to prevent the directors from winding up the company. And SSL directors say emphatically no, they were not trying to wind up the company in contravention of FSC instructions. They said they appointed a trustee. They had told FSC they would be appointing the trustee, and they said it was their intention that their powers and authority would therefore be vested in the trustee and the affairs of SSL would be under his control. They said the purpose was not to wind up the company. And finally, a question many people have been asking, why didn't they detect fraud at the company? They said, well, the investigations will tell us that, but they said they have an online system that all clients can use to track their portfolio. They said it's considered one of the best in the world, but they said, quote, unfortunately, it is common to the affected clients that they did not use the online system, but rather relied on statements generated by the former employee, which undoubtedly was the likely reason they were targeted. Joining me in studio, financial and economic commentator Ralston Hyman, host of Real Business on sister station Power 106, and financial commentator and chartered accountant Dennis Chung, and both of them by now have frequent flyer points on the program. Ralston, you said a little bit earlier, talking to me, that this statement raises more questions than it answers. What do you mean?
Yes, well, SSL is fallaciously projected itself as a victim of media sensationalism, government oppression, and investor carelessness. So that is why they told you about the online system and the investors not using the online system and putting their trust in the wealth advisor and all of that. But the problem is, who was supervising that wealth advisor? Why did she have a pool of funds for herself that she made payments from? Who was supervising? So it's telling you that there was a significant breakdown of the controls in SSL. That's what is happening, a significant breakdown of controls.
So you don't think this statement then does anything to answer?
No, it raises more questions than answers, certainly.
Dennis Chung, for you, does the statement help you understand anything?
No, it doesn't really change anything, you know, and you ask yourself certain questions, as Ralston said. I mean, it seems as if there's a fundamental breakdown in the controls because, you know, for someone to be able to do all of that, I mean, you're talking about going through all levels of authorization based on what is being said. And it's just not possible unless there's fundamental breakdown of controls to that for over 10 years.
Tell me what you mean. What do you mean by that? For those of us who are not financial experts or chartered accountants.
Well, the person is engaging the client, then not just engaging the client, but taking the money, seeing that it is put into the system for lodgement, and then the person is receiving the authorization, taking that money out, right, with as we've seen, the signing of a withdrawal document with just one signature alone on it, and then paying that money over to the client purportedly. And, you know, when you have an email system that people send in by, someone else always calls and verifies. So where is the check and balance in all of that? And that's why I said there's a fundamental breakdown. Not only did it happen within the space of a year, but it happened over 10 years, and external auditors always do independent confirmations. So how did that miss? How also did all of these people not check their statements online in 10 years? You know, it seems as if there was a fundamental breakdown. That's the only way it could have happened, because you're talking about over 10 years, and you're not talking about a little bit of money. You're talking about a substantial amount of money, particularly at a time when SSL was going through some capital adequacy issues. So how do you not, you know, look at all that? You'd expect that the due diligence is going to be much more detailed going through that. So it raises some questions as to, you know, why wasn't there that accountability? Why wasn't things captured? What was it? What was in the management letter from the external auditors, and what were the actions taken? You know, there's question around the board who uses a lot of policy, but, you know, compliance, financial control, you know,
okay,
that sort of level.
Got you. Now, in relation to the winding up issue, the statement asked, did the directors and shareholders attempt to wind up the entity in contravention of FSC instructions? They say emphatically no. Our colleague Kalisha Williams caught up with the finance minister earlier today and asked him for his response to that.
Just today, the company sent a statement, issued a statement saying, and I quote emphatically, no, they were not attempting to wind up operations. What would you say to that?
The temporary manager is in receipt of a resolution filed with the company's office for a member's voluntary winding up, and stamp received by the company's office on the 16th of January, 2023. I don't know what people might say their intent is, but that document speaks for itself. And the temporary manager, the FSC, the government of Jamaica, had to act in light of that resolution that was filed with the company's office.
Now, when you look at the statement that came from SSL, there is, unless I've missed it, there is no mention of the resolution that we just heard from the finance minister speak about, which says what to you, Roscoe?
Well, two fundamental points before that. In a properly running brokerage house, this is something that we do on a regular basis. If you call your broker to do something, somebody else from that brokerage house is going to call you to verify whether you gave him instructions to do that particular thing.
Check and balance.
Yeah, precisely. That was happening at SSL. So it was a total breakdown of controls. Additionally, the minister made a point about the role of external auditors. That's a very serious point. Finance Minister Dr. Omar Davies made the same points in the 1990s in relation to the financial sector crisis, because many of the companies that went down had clean bills from their auditors, their external auditors. Similarly, in the international financial crisis of 2008, places like Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns had clean bills of health from their external auditors and from the ratings agencies. So this is something that we need to take very seriously. So the minister was onto something when he spoke about the role of external auditors. Now, back to the situation in terms of the winding up. They must explain to the public what is it that they were planning to do, because what they were trying to do is to circumvent what the FSC was trying to do. They were trying to take the role from the temporary manager. What they were trying to do is what the temporary manager was appointed by the FSC to do. And we have more trust in what the temporary manager was planning to do rather than what they were planning to do. They were taking a preemptive strike, yeah, go around the thing, right? So that's what they were trying to do. So although
they are insisting they were doing no such thing.
Yeah, we do not believe them. Simple. We believe the minister on this one.
Dennis?
Yeah, I come down on the side of the minister. I mean, it's, you know, you're talking about appointing a trustee and then filing an action with the company's office, right? That, you know, if you look at the Insolvency Act, I mean, that's the sort of steps that you take. You might not be winding up, you know, but certainly it's seeking to protect the assets from any claims and having control of the assets. And that is different from, you know, just looking at, you know, someone coming in and analyzing the business and that sort of thing. So it's difficult to understand. I mean, if all you wanted to do is look at the business, analyze it, you know, make suggestions, work with temporary manager, then you hire someone without having to file an action with the company's office or the court. So, you know, it's difficult to understand what happened there.
Especially since it's not explained. If you're explaining
Precisely.
and responding, why would you not? But I'm out of time for this segment, gentlemen. As we can see, this is an ongoing, unfolding issue. I don't know. It seems as if we're going to be having you every week on this. Thank you so much. Really, always appreciate it. Let me go to the break. When we come back now, we'll pick up on the traffic ticket issue. We'll soon come.